There you go. All right. Horrible joke. Way too many coffees. Let's get things started. All right. So I'm going to be talking about how business community growth can scale your businesses and, more importantly, scale the objectives of your business moving forward. So before I kick things off, I'm going to show you guys a little video about meetups that we throw in Toronto. Oh. Let's try this out again. Any second now. I think we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty. Alrighty, as you can see in the video, those are the Shopify meetups we throw in Toronto, and they are so exciting for us as a company, and we can't get enough of them. Keep in mind, we're not the oldest agency, and we're not the newest agency, so for us, when we started in the Shopify ecosystem, we wanted to start off with small focus groups of top e-com talent that allowed us to grow with them and offer value to them as well. What started off as a small focus group ended up growing into a full-fledged partner event called Shopify Meetup Toronto, and for us, it's been absolutely fantastic and an overall blessing. So I'm going to get a bit more into tips, tricks, strategies that allowed us to take our small focus group, grow into a massive meetup where we get hundreds of people who are constantly engaged, constantly want to attend, and go from there. So, before we kick things off, who the hell am I? I'm from Toronto, so most of you most likely don't know me. My name is Stephan Peralta. I am the partner and creative lead at Sovi Creative, a Shopify Plus agency, an agency with heart, execution so smart, it makes your customers want to add to cart. I am not a rapper. On top of that, as I mentioned, I organized and hosted the events for Shopify Meetup Toronto, and they've been honestly a blessing. But as I mentioned, I'll get into more detail about that. On top of that, I'm an educator at a post-secondary institute called Humber College. There, I've gone ahead and developed an e-commerce specific course where young developers can learn about theme development, make kick-ass themes, and overall become an amazing entrepreneur on top of that. And last but not least, I'm a self-proclaimed Belgian and beer connoisseur. As you can see in the photo, I'm rocking my Paulina, which is a pretty appropriate beer since like Oktoberfest just a few days ago. So yeah, let's kick things off. So let me take you on a journey. As I mentioned, I'm talking all about community growth. When we started our small focus groups and transitioned them into large events like Shopify Meetup Toronto, it was such a blessing for us, as I mentioned, and we were able to meet so many interesting objectives that we never knew we would be a part of. And we noticed that we were scaling our company pretty quickly with our community, but more importantly, we weren't the only organizations doing this. From a distance, we were able to see partner organizations from literally all over the world turn into massive organizations and meet really interesting objectives just because they're doing these partners events, these Shopify meetups, and so on from there. So what I did on our behalf is I went ahead and interviewed some of these partners from all over the world, North America, South America, Asia, Australia, and so on, and see how these events that they've thrown, how have that impacted their organization, and more importantly, has it given them a good return for all of the investments they put into these Shopify meetups and partner events, and so on from there. And last but not least, it's not very new at this point that Shopify's secret sauce also has to do with the global partner community associated with it. The Shopify Partner department is growing exponentially just because we're seeing amazing organizations pop up left, right, and center, some new and some not so new. Oh, let me go back, kind of jumping the gun there. So when I went about interviewing all of these different partners, I wanted to start off and say, why Shopify Meetups? Why partner events? How are they really impacting you? And I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to our first person that we've interviewed. All right, you know what? Koji is in the background. We did a little bit of a creative treatment on this photo, so the contrast isn't as much there as we'd like it to be. And it's good for them because I kind of got them off guard all the time. Time frames weren't always the best, so not to be rude, but they didn't look the best, and neither did I, so it's good that you can't see them too much. But starting things off, Koji Jimbo was our first interview. He is the first Shopify expert and Shopify expert agency in Japan. So what we saw is when they went about their Shopify meetups, we wanted to know why that was important for them. And to them, they wanted to solidify and standardize what the Shopify ecosystem in Japan was all about. They wanted to bring people together, raise awareness, not just for themselves, but for common problems and common solutions. So by doing the first Shopify meetup for them, they were able to standardize that. They were able to see large and small organizations prosper with Shopify, allowing them to provide very interesting results and very interesting solutions. Another reason why we saw Shopify meetups becoming so popular because they were a very cost-effective approach for allowing your organization to put on meetups, large or small, and have an interesting return to it as well. For myself, when I was 8 years old, I come from a family background of entrepreneurs. My father would always put me in front of trade shows, massive trade shows, even though I was pretty sure I was illegal at the time. But regardless, massive trade shows. And I'd ask him, Dad, like, how much would a trade show cost you? And he's a small business. And he said, $5,000, $10,000. And I'm thinking in the back of my head as an 8-year-old kid, like, how many fucking super soakers can I get for that? Like, don't get me wrong, first world problems. But we were noticing that he's investing so much just to get his brand out there. And there's amazing other ways like community meetups to be able to do that as well. And last but not least, defining the authority. It doesn't really involve you guys going out, putting these events and adding topic on top of that. Going out and being able to organize those people, have presenters, letting them be the topic, gives you the opportunity to be the authority within your local region. And that alone was huge for at least an agency like us that's very up and coming. So what's in it for me? Why would I want to go ahead and start a partner event, do a Shopify meetup? What's the type of returns all of these partners are seeing all over the world? So by popular demand, what we've noticed is these 4 interesting returns. One second. There we go. So leads. Leads was actually what I thought would be very important for these people doing these Shopify meetups because it's a great way to get potential leads. You do a Shopify meetup, you invest a certain amount of dollars, let's just say hypothetically speaking about $500. You get a potential client to come in and that prospect turns into a lead, and that lead could be a $5, $10, $50, $100,000 project. So if you think about the ROI just in the lead opportunities, that's absolutely amazing moving forward as well. Killer content. So a lot of organizations, we found a really interesting trend with up-and-coming organizations. Not all of these organizations have massive teams that can do content marketing. These meetups for them were a great opportunity to constantly promote through different social channels, emails, offline as well. But more importantly, take the content that they received from these Shopify meetups and then leverage that internally for their skill sets as well as opportunity for post-content marketing opportunities as well. From there, we saw a lot of brand value come into play. Don't think of these Shopify meetups, these partner events, as just a service you're offering. Think of it also as an asset. For us as a service agency, we go out there and we say, hey, we're Sovi Creative. We want to kick ass and we're hungry and we want to definitely meet those solutions for you guys. But on top of that, we run Shopify meetups because we want to be able to know what are common problems, either SMB, high value, and so on from there. So that brand value gives us an additional reputation as an up-and-coming agency, and people really appreciate that, and that's been a blessing in itself. Last but not least, partnerships. So partnerships is probably the most common thing as a return for a lot of organizations. Not everyone has 5-10 minutes to go for a coffee, regardless of being a startup where you got to invest as much time as possible into making your quality there, to large organizations like Facebook and Google where they do have people that offer business development, but then again, my name is Stephan. Who the hell am I at the end of the day? Why would they want to go about meeting a potential Shopify Plus expert like myself? So this gives the opportunity for people to come into one room, start a partnership. As your Shopify meetups, as your partner events constantly keep on going, those relationships will keep on getting better and better to the point where if there's an opportunity for a potential collaboration, that's always a great way of starting. For us, those are organizations. We work heavily with Facebook, Google, great sponsorships from RBC, MailChimp, and so much more. And keep in mind, like I said, we're not the newest or oldest agency, so for that alone, absolute wonder. All right, so one of my next interviews was Cal Wilson, based out of the Working Party, and this is a perfect example of strategic partnerships. In Australia, the partnership community it's booming, and for him, what he wanted to do was niche a bit of that partner community into what he referred to as a partner social, an opportunity where partners in the ecosystem, primarily in Australia, can come together, tackle really complex challenges, but more importantly, focus their services on future roadmap implementations primarily on Shopify. So for him, that was great because he got to meet those people, he got to meet those agencies, establish those relationships, and makes his service offering that much stronger as well. So I'm telling you guys why Shopify meetups, why partner events are great, and I'm explaining to you guys the return on top of those, on top of doing these community events. But keep in mind that ROI in a perfect world will be there, but I want to show you guys opportunities, strategies that we've seen trends being performed, and how partners have been able to maximize those returns by doing these partner meetups as well. So when we first started, we wanted to start all the way in the beginning before these meetups, before any of these partners started these community events, and we said, what was your focus? How do you go into this? Do you just go right in, like head first, or do you guys like to be able to plan things out? And the way they positioned it, and we thought this was super smart, the way they like to position it is, think of these community meetups as a new extension of your business. You're going to want to go ahead and put together an action plan, almost like a business proposal. You're going to want to know who's your audience you want to be targeting. What are the problems these audiences are facing? What are the solutions that you can be able to offer as value through your meetups, but also keep in mind the longevity of this value as well. You don't want to offer value and the next day something comes out where everyone's onboarded and it becomes somewhat irrelevant as well. So by putting together somewhat of a business proposal together, it gives you a good opportunity to execute on your meetups, take a step back and realize, did I meet what I was originally trying to do with our Shopify meetups as myself and the team as well? So it's very, very important you define your focus, and along the way I'll explain a bit more detail. So here's Marcos, an amazing partner based out of Brazil with a wicked product company called Lightfi. Basically for him, his goal was to be able to do his Shopify meetups, do his events, but focus on a high volume market moving forward. So he primarily niched his events in the high volume, the Shopify Plus space, because him as an app knows Shopify Plus is doing really exciting things and has a very bright future. So he wanted to make sure that his application, his product can team up with a service agency that's very specialized in Shopify Plus, and together they can work hand in hand to make their product that much better. So that was his focus. Shopify Plus was his target. His solution was going ahead and meeting other partners, and because of that, he's able to focus the future of his product on the high volume enterprise market to proceed from here. So when I say define focus, let's talk a little bit about environment. We wanted to know what was the biggest challenge to start some of these partner events. And I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree, but when it comes to running an event, the venue is probably the most important thing, and some could negotiate on that, but the event is the venue is the most important thing. And what we found the most interesting thing about the venues is no one's paying for these events, and venues. And the reason why venues are very costly and they're very, very tough to get. So we said, what are great ways to start your meetups to be able to handle potentially 10 people all the way to 100 people? And those were scenario venues like co-working spaces that have cultural, community type of environments already built into co-working spaces. We're talking about private institutions in Toronto. Those are things like BitMaker, HackerU, and Red Academy, and so on from there. These are organizations that have already put that educational space together where I have a projector behind me and tons of seats ahead of me for attendees moving forward. So that was really interesting in terms of the venue. And last but not least, we leveraged the Shopify product space, and we find it's absolutely amazing. Keep in mind, if you want to deal with a startup and see if you can leverage your space, kind of go into it and understand what do they get out of it as well. What's the value that they're trying to bring to the community on top of that? Because that's going to be super important. For us, it's pretty easy. Shopify Meetup Toronto and the Shopify product office go hand in hand as well. So, yep. So don't also think of it very literally. Think about it also through the atmosphere and the vibe. When you're putting your, I guess, your plan of action together, your little proposal, business proposal on your events, keep in mind, who are you targeting? Do you want to keep it very casual? Do you want to keep it very formal? If you're going to keep it formal, take the typical meetup where you have beer and pizza and try to make it that much better to make that environment more engaging as well. If you're going to be keeping it pretty local, then you know what? Maybe try starting off at like a pub where they get the benefit of you having attendees buying beer, and keep it very casual. Those are things to definitely keep into consideration. The overall atmosphere, but also the venue being one of the main criteria to make sure your event runs successfully. Frequency is a big one. So when we're talking with all these partners all over the world, we're saying, how often are you throwing these meetups? Are you stepping on anyone's toes when it comes to these events that you guys are looking to do? And more importantly, how are you guys doing this in terms of the long scale of your partner events as well? So what we were able to nail down is a lot of meetups all over the world are happening on a 2-month basis or a 3-month basis. Because come on, guys, we're running an organization. We need to make sure, at least through an up-and-coming organization like ours, we have to make sure that our heads are down, we're doing incredible work, but we're giving ourselves enough time to focus on the next partner event that we want to throw. So it's all about understanding the frequency that you guys can be involved with, and understanding internal resources that you can also accommodate with your future events. Another thing we also asked is, let's get a bit more granular. What day of the week would you guys want to be able to throw these partner events? And of course we came to the conclusion when people first come into the work week, they're all tired, they're all drained, they're like, oh, here we go again, except for, well, for most people at least. And at the end of the week, we notice people are so excited. They want to get the hell out of their office. They want to explore, especially in Vancouver with so much beautiful nature. So what we saw being the most impactful in terms of throwing your events is midweek. Let's tackle that hump day. Let's tackle that day when everyone's feel drained. Get them excited. Let them engage in that way. And that way you'll see the most impact per Shopify meetups, per partner events moving forward as well. So this is Keith. Keith runs an awesome partner agency in Ireland, Milk Bottle Labs, and he makes an incredibly amazing quote. You guys aren't in the business of event management. Some aspect you are, but you guys are doing these Shopify meetups to get some sort of return. But on top of that, you guys, like I said, you guys got to focus on your day-to-day operations, and that's totally true. So when you guys are doing these meetups, don't come into the expectation that you have to organize everything and add that value as well. Keep in mind, there's presenters left, right, and center that want to be a part of it, want to have an early start to their presentation career, and you can leverage that moving forward as well. So delivery is a really important one. How do I go about putting my events together? How do I give that value to the community? What we notice is that there's three interesting offline approaches, and online there's even more approaches as well. So on the offline, what we typically see, of course, is that one-person presentation, which gets kind of boring here and there, and that's kind of ironic because that's literally me right now. But on top of that, we see panels being super effective. Have one topic, but let people with multiple different views tackle that topic. It's most likely someone in your audience will be able to engage with that person and really relate with the type of mindset that person has for that topic they're looking to add value on top of. And last but not least, if you're starting a new meetup and really based off of your audience, give the opportunity for a conversational meetup, especially if it's people you're looking to qualify that have lots of knowledge and lots of value for your partner event. Doing a little bit of a conch shell giving, allowing people to talk, is a great way to really start building your communication with them and really understanding and having a strong shared goal with those attendees as well. So that's on the offline. On the online, we see the most effective approaches being leveraged on social channels. So common examples of that is sharing quotes, sharing information on social channel. And you get great engagement doing so. On top of that, email is huge, as we most likely all know. Being able to do pre- and post-email blasts is a great way to start building your email list, which for a new company that we've interviewed, that was a huge thing for them. And last but not least, what we've seen the most success is with live streaming. And the reason being is when we do our Shopify events, there are opportunities where our space can only accommodate so many people, and then that leaves us with a huge waiting list afterwards, and we don't want to leave those people hanging. So live streams are a great way for us to say, hey guys, you guys can understand this value, understand these topics we're putting together. And what's really interesting on top of that, it gives you qualitative data that you can later on leverage for a potential sponsorship, for example, and really understand how is the growth of my meetup, at least through a digital perspective. Alrighty, so I explained a bit about why. I explained about the return. I explained about strategies to help maximize that return. But I hope I haven't put too much of a wall of intimidation ahead of you guys to start your meetups or start your partner events. They're literally so fun to engage with, and it's going to do great things for you. But if I have intimidated you guys, which I apologize if I do, I'm going to give you some really cool tips and tricks for you guys to go out there, start partner events, small and big, and really allow you guys to grow your business along with them. So as we all know, the Shopify Partner team is absolutely amazing. When we first did our events, we did small focus groups, and those were great. But as we wanted to scale, we had a problem in terms of financing. We had a problem in terms of marketing to all of those people. So what we did is we reached out to our partner manager, and our partner manager said, you know what, we're here to support you guys, we're here to back you guys, and gave us so many amazing resources that would have taken us months to try to claim down the road. So right off the bat, just by approaching our partner manager, that was amazing for us, and we really got to speed things up from there. Sponsorships is a big one. At the end of the day, when it comes to these meetups, of course there's a financial aspect incorporated with it, and it's really hard to have that financial pressure behind you because you guys want to give all of your effort in focusing on your meetup and the value and the quality that your meetup is looking to offer to the community. So when it comes to sponsors, it's a great opportunity in the beginning to reference that action plan, as I mentioned, being able to put some sort of qualitative data together from live streams and other opportunities and put together a very strict sponsorship guideline. What we've learned is more sponsorships, more problems. So it's definitely very effective to take that business plan, that action plan, that press release that you guys put together, present that to the sponsor because they'll give you finances, but they might ask some stuff in return. But you don't want that sponsor to skew your overall goal for doing these Shopify meetups. So that's very important that you put together the holy grail of sponsorships, or you can eventually find these meetups are more of a monetary goal than actually what you're trying to achieve in the long term and overall. So pay it forward. Pay it forward is an interesting one. So when we were interviewing some of the more successful high-end agencies that started off with these community events, we asked them, okay, so you guys got your return, and I see you guys no longer actually do these events anymore. What are the reasons why? And as I mentioned, these partners are saying, we did these Shopify meetups, they helped scale our business exponentially, and we got our return. We got our partnerships, we got our leads, we got everything we want. But what we did not want to do is take that event that took us so long to establish and let it just go out the drain. So what they did is through their partnerships, they saw up-and-coming agencies, they saw up-and-coming partners, and they said, you know what, these events have done great things for us. Why don't you guys give it a shot? We'll help you along the way, but we want to hand these events off to you just so all of this hard work we initially put into it doesn't get lost in the long run. And last but not least, there's an amazing partner based out of Atlanta, Natasha. I had a chance to speak with her when we did our little talk at Unite with Kier. She owns ShopifyMeetup.com, and what she's offering is if you're a regional partner and you want to be part of the Shopify Meetup world and you notice that you're doing great in Vancouver, you can reach out to Natasha and say, hey, I run the Vancouver meetup. Would you be okay with doing a subdomain vancouver.myshopify and redirect that to a specific landing page? And that's very important because when your meetups start becoming pretty popular, people are going to organically search for them. And if there isn't a way for them to actually go somewhere, it's a dead end. It gets kind of weird until you go ahead and just send out a massive e-blast and catch them off guard. Alrighty, so my last tip and tricks from my main man, Alex O'Brien. If you're going to bring beer, make sure it's cold. And that couldn't be so true. When we did our first meetup, we left like a bunch of 2-4s in the back of my car. brought it out to everyone. Everyone's drinking warm beer, and I've never seen so much disgust on people's face. Like, I could have slapped them, and they would have a much better reaction than drinking warm beer. And that just goes to saying the atmosphere is extremely important. When you're defining these meetups, understand, are you looking to give high quality? Beer is pretty standardized, so always keep it cold, nonetheless. But like I said, go back into that scope, go back into that focus of what you're looking to do with your meetups, and realize that beer is an actual symbol of your overall meetup. So try to maintain every little minute aspect of your meetup and try to keep it as high quality as possible if that's what you're aiming for. So let me do a bit of a recap. Why do Shopify meetups? You increase awareness. You get to standardize regionally all these people that are either familiar with Shopify or not familiar with Shopify in one world, and you guys get to be the authority. That's the best part. You guys don't have to offer too much of that value. Just by organizing everything gives you guys that look and feel that you guys are very high-end and you guys are killing it in your specific market. One thing I never got to mention about why is when our team does these Shopify meetups, we resource about 5 different internal staff, and it's because they're passionate about community events. They're passionate about meetups. And after these events, thinking through an internal operational standpoint, they come back into our office that much more hungry, that much more excited because they saw the impact they got to do face-to-face with their community meetup, and to them, that's more than enough. It's not just that 9-to-5 daily grind of constant services. It's doing these meetups and getting super stoked about it. So what's in it for me? As I mentioned, lead opportunity. You invest a certain amount, you get a potential prospect that could be well over that amount. That in itself is a great blessing. On top of that, you're getting amazing content that you can market. Even if you're an organization that doesn't specialize in content marketing, getting out there is a great opportunity to leverage all of that value from your Shopify meetups or partner events in general. Brand value, as I mentioned, these events aren't a service. They're an added asset to your organization that makes you guys look that much better, so definitely keep that in mind. And last but not least, that's actually in terms of why. In terms of the, last but not least, partnerships. Whew, too many coffees. Like I said, strategic partnerships have been the most important things that we've seen when interviewing all of these partners. And it's a great way for you guys to get out there, start your relationship, and instead of doing that 5-10 minute coffee, get everyone in one room and start contributing more and more. And how do I maximize my ROI? Define your focus. Like I said, before you even go into these events, put together a holy grail of what you're looking to achieve. There's a good chance that these events will evolve, and alongside your focus will evolve with it. From there, you want to be able to focus on your environment. You want to be understanding, how am I going to get that venue? And most likely, as I mentioned, free is the best way to go. And what kind of atmosphere am I looking to set for my attendees? Is it going to be casual, conversational, or is it going to be high-end to serve a much larger purpose? From there, you want to talk about your frequency. Keeping your events, the long term of your events, very frequent. Like I said, 2 months, 3 months, as long as you keep it consistent, that's what's going to pay its dividends down the road. That's what's going to allow people to go ahead and make sure that they can accommodate your future event when they want to attend to it. And last but not least, delivery. You want to go and understand how you're going to offer this value. What we see being very successful are conversational meetups, focus groups. We see panels being great because a lot of people can relate to them. But one-off presentations are another great way to offer that value. And like I said, leverage digital. Live streaming has been great, at least for us, because we get that qualitative data that allows us to put really enticing sponsorships proposals together to understand what's the type of return, what's the type of engagement for our community. So with that being said, I hope I gave you guys the opportunity, to be inspired. Start your partner events. If there's a biggest tip that any one of the partners and surveys that we've done is just go for it, because you never know what's going to come out of it until you really try. So with that being said, I want to thank everyone for listening to my partner event talk. And if you have any questions, now's the best time. Thank you.